Today I will be explaining how to use the blue or green screen keyer called Keylight inside of Nuke. In the following section I will describe the parameters you need to do basic keying. This section will give you enough information to tackle most simple keys. Let's start with selecting our screen color. The screen color is probably the most important parameter, and you should always pick the color before doing anything else. It should be set to the color of the green or blue screen behind the foreground element. Pick the screen color directly from the image by selecting Command-Shift-Alt or Control-Shift-Alt on Windows and drag a rectangle over the background pixels near the foreground element. The average value of the pixels selected is used. If you press Alt when sampling a color, Nuke always samples the source image regardless of what you are looking at. This means that you can pick the blue or green screen color even if you are viewing the matte, status, or composite outputs. After selecting the screen color, 3 colors are displayed in the alpha channel. Black pixels show areas that are pure background in the final composite. White pixels show areas that are pure foreground. And gray pixels are a blend of foreground and background for the final composite. You need gray pixels around the edges of the foreground area to get a good key for the foreground object. Next we will cover the adjustment sliders inside of Nuke. The screen gain is a contrast adjustment which will adjust the color gain of the background and foreground colors to give you a better resulting matte. The screen balance is an adjustment of the internal Keylight algorithm. This adjustment balances the 2 secondary channels of the key. For green screen, it's red and blue, and for blue screen, it's red and green. The screen pre-blur will apply a blur on the original green screen before pulling the key. Clip black will push the gray values in the background to black. Clip white will push the gray values inside the foreground element to white. And clip rollback will roll back those values to give us semi-transparent areas between our black and white values. The screen dilate will do exactly that. It will either erode or dilate the screen matte. Next we have the screen softness. Now whereas the screen pre-blur option will apply a blur to our screen matte before pulling a key, the screen softness will actually blur just our foreground element in our screen matte so we can get those nice soft edges. The screen despot black will get rid of black specks in the white regions of our screen matte, and the screen despot white will get rid of white specks in the background area of our matte. Now let's take a look at our in and out matte inputs. With the in and out matte components, we can define areas of our matte that we either want to keep or take away. So for our in matte or our holdout matte, this is for areas that we want to keep within our foreground element. And for our garbage matte or out matte, these are things that we want to cut out of our green screen key, such as this element on the left here. So we have these created, and now we need to input them. So looking at this, we have our in component and out components here. We need to tell Keylight what we want to use of these roto shapes. We can use luminance, inverted luminance, alpha, or inverted alpha. So for our in component, we're going to use alpha, and we'll take a look at that. So if we come up to our viewer and we check our screen matte, this will give us the key that Keylight has created, or the matte that it has created. Now to view my in component, let's set this to inside mask, so I can see that that is my shape within my foreground element area that I know I want to keep. If I put this back to default, you can see some of these transparent areas. So by using this inside mask, we can alleviate that, and we won't have to suffer from bad edge quality by pushing those inside values out. And also, we have our out component. So I need to set this to actually inverted alpha so that everything outside of this area will be cut out and not applied to our key. So now we have our screen mat, our inside mat. Check out our outside mat. All right, and let's go ahead and look at our combined mat with all three. You can see now that this area over here is cut out of our composite. So now, if I set these back to default, you can see this area where it is cutting everything out. So now we don't have to push values to get rid of these other components or other areas of our green screen key. We can just focus on the area around here and not have to worry about these values all the way over here. So looking at our combined mat, we can now do our adjustments through our clip blacks, rollbacks, and pre-blurs and kind of get ourselves a decent key. If we look at our composite, we can see we have transparencies where we need them and solid core in our foreground area. If you'd like to go more in depth on the Keylight keyer, please refer to the Nuke 7 user guide.